Hey guys, it's Shaard, and I've got another build guide for you. This time we're looking at my new favorite bow skill, Siege Ballista. So I've got a question for you. Why use the Pierce support gem or any of the Pierce chance in the game when your skill could just have a 100% Pierce chance automatically included? That's right, throw that other shit in the garbage because Siege Ballista has an implicit 100% chance for projectiles to pierce. This lets us do two things. Number one, we can make use of the insane damage boost that Drill Neck offers, both from its added physical damage and its final mod, projectile damage increased by arrow pierce chance. Yes, that does exactly what you're thinking. Arrows always pierce means 100% pierce chance, which means 100% increased projectile damage. Disgusting. The second thing we get to do is not have to use the Pierce gem, and that means we have an entire extra gem socket to play with. Thank you, GGG. A free more multiplier is exactly what I wanted for Christmas. The clear speed itself is quite strong, and very little gear investment can carry you up through mid and high tier maps, and make some of the harder bosses like Orchard a breeze to fight because of the nature of totems. So what does our skill tree look like? We'll start at Ranger because her starting nodes are amazing. You could start Scion, the only difference is you'd lose a tiny bit of damage. Siege Ballista are totems, so go run a marathon over to the No Pants district and grab Ancestral Bond for 2 totems, making sure to tag Resolute Technique along the way. The only other things we need are life, a little mana, a frenzy charge, and then some fizz damage and attack speed. So grab a bunch of that stuff throughout the tree. Also, grab acrobatics because it's a huge boost to your survivability. Now let's talk about links. Your Siege Ballista is going to be linked to faster attacks, physical projectile damage, and slower projectiles. This is where the build splits a bit. For now, Poison will be your 5 link, followed by added Fire. The Poison procs at a huge amount of damage that, when stacked on tankier targets, shreds through them. If Poison gets nerfed, it might end up being better to put in Weapon Elemental damage, as that scales our aura and added fire damages up better than any other gem really does. Now you might have been thinking, hang on, 1 projectile? That would make clearing feel like death. Yes, it would, and we would normally use LMP. As a brief mention, GMP hurts single target damage way too much and isn't necessary in my opinion. But there is a better way. If we use the unique Rain of Splinters jewel, we gain 2 additional projectiles, and we only get between a 30 and 50% reduced damage hit, instead of LMP's 10% less. This ends up with slightly more damage than if we used LMP. This gives us the effect of LMP and allows us to socket in faster attacks for more damage. If you really feel you need the wider coverage, then you can socket in LMP instead of faster attacks to get the same effect as GMP. Our other gem setup will be Hatred and Clarity for auras. If you get enough mana on your items, you can run Herald of Ash as well, but your mana is going to be quite tight and reduced recovery maps will be painful to run. We will also run a side setup that does 2 things for us. Frenzy with GMP linked to Curse on Hit and Vulnerability. This allows us to gather Frenzy charges and maintain them, and curse everything at the same time. In terms of gear, there are only 2 uniques you'll want to get that will help a lot, though neither of them are required. The first is, obviously, the Drill Neck Unique Quiver, as I mentioned before. These are pretty expensive when you're first starting out, but again aren't entirely necessary, so you can farm your way up to one, though they do add a large amount of damage to the build. The second one is the Lionized Glare Unique Bow. Is a very solid DPS to it and costs only a couple chaos for a decently rolled one. This thing will get you through mid-tier maps and even into high-tier maps without much of an issue for your damage. It also has the benefit of having its own Hits Cannot Be Evaded mod, allowing you to spec out of Resolute Technique and save yourself 2 skill points. For everything else, you just need your basic health and resistance, preferably on evasion items. If you can manage it, flat physical damage is a great extra stat to have, but is not necessary. To touch briefly on leveling, you can use your own personal choice of bow skill and level as a normal ranger, utilizing Stormcloud and a Death's Harp if you can afford them. You can use Siege Ballista to supplement your damage as you level, and then switch to Dual Ballista whenever you feel comfortable, as Siege Ballista, to me, felt very smooth to use even as my only skill. Overall, Siege Ballista feels like a very solid skill when built right, and is both fun to level and scales very easily into endgame without requiring a huge investment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.